Behold, Frozen Wish Studios, I've come for a review of a sequel that has been 14 years in the makings and one of the most highly anticipated animated films of all time, Incredibles 2. Hey guys, this is Frozen Things Studios here, and welcome back to another movie review. And today, I am going to be doing a review on Incredibles 2. Dun 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 dun. So Incredibles 2 is the sequel to The Incredibles. Not just a sequel, but a highly anticipated one. We have been waiting for this 14 years. And it's directed once again by Brad Bird. And it came out in the year 2018. And it stars Craig T. Nelson, Holly Hunter, Sarah Vowell, Huck Miller, Samuel L. Jackson, Bob Odenkirk, Catherine Keener, Jonathan Banks, Brad Bird, John Ratzenberger, Eli Fusail, Sophia Bush, Michael Bird, Isabella Rossellini, etc. And so the film tells a story taking place right after the events of the first film with the Underminer battle. Yeah, remember the first Incredibles with the Behold, the Underminer. I think I forgot to talk about the Underminer in my review of the first film. But oh well, I'm talking about him now. So yeah, the film doesn't start with the Underminer coming out right away, but rather it started out with Tony Reitinger, where Tony Reitinger, in his point of view, which is, by the way, a very unique opening. So Tony talks about how he saw The Incredibles, and he was supposed to go out on a date with Violet on Friday night to go see a movie, and then the Underminer attack happened, and then Tony found out Violet's secret identity, and so Tony talked to Rick Dicker about it, and Rick wiped out Tony's memory on Violet. And then we proceed to the battle, but the battle doesn't go the way you think, because apparently the Underminer wins, and the Incredibles are left to blame for causing damage. This makes superheroes illegal for good, just when they were about to make superheroes legal again. Of course, this leads into an argument between Bob and Helen. And by the way, that dinner scene, one of the best scenes of the film. I'm going to talk about that scene in the review. But one day, things get lucky when Bob, Helen, and Frozen are recruited, are invited over by Winston Dever, a superhero fan, to help superheroes go legal. To be legal, he has help from Evelyn Dever as well. So Winston's goal is to actually recruit one of the superheroes, one of the three superheroes, select them for the job to pretty much secretly do the superhero task without getting caught by the government. And so he picks Elastigirl. Yeah, so a jealous Bob becomes a stay-at-home dad to watch over the kids and keep a secret that Elastigirl is on a mission to make superheroes legal. But then she must face off against the Screenslaver. The Screenslaver, a villain who can hypnotize people. And so she must face off against the Screenslaver. So yeah, that's the plot for it. So Incredibles 2 is a highly anticipated film, as The Incredibles is a fan favorite Pixar film, and certainly one of my favorite Pixar films in general. Yeah, I still love Incredibles. It's my favorite Pixar film of the 2000s. It's not quite my favorite Pixar film, but out of all of the films from all of the classic Pixar films, Incredibles is my favorite one. That's comparing it to Toy Story, Bug's Life, Finding Nemo, WALL-E, Up, Ratatouille, those stuff, and of course Cars, because Cars is not even good. I'm sorry. So yeah, and The Incredibles. I never mentioned talk about the ending, but The Incredibles ended with the the Underminer and The Incredibles must fight him. Now, typically with superhero movies, a villain would just pop out. A villain would just pop out of nowhere. The ending would just be a gimmick whenever like a villain would just be like, "Oh, superheroes come and fight me," and then it would end with superheroes facing off against a villain. Normally, that comes up as just a gimmick and not a sequel. But everyone saw that the Underminer fight would have meaning to it and would lead into a sequel. So, of course, everyone's been begging for a sequel, and we've been getting some Pixar sequels right after the Incredibles. Yeah, Pixar was mostly stuck with the original films, and then Toy Story 3 came out, and Toy Story 3 gave Pixar the impression to just make more sequels after sequels after sequels. Toy Story 3 is a masterpiece, but then Pixar started going downhill with Cars 2. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually think Cars 2 is solid. I think that it is Cars 2 Cars 2 is actually a guilty pleasure. I can understand the hate for Cars 2, but it is a dumb fun movie. I am actually planning to review the first Cars one, by the way. Cars 2 and 3, I'm not sure if I feel like it. We'll see. And then we got Monsters University, which is actually underrated. And also, Monsters University is actually a near perfect movie. My only flaw with the movie is what they did to Randall Boggs. I feel like the movie did ruin Randall Boggs, but otherwise, if the movie was perfect, I would have actually preferred it over Monsters Inc. And then we also got Finding Dory, which is great, but for Pixar standards, it's actually one of the weaker Pixar films, in my opinion. It's just great, but nothing special. And at long last, we got Incredibles 2. Incredibles 2. Now, the previous Pixar film that came before Incredibles 2, Coco, was such a magnificent masterpiece. Like, Coco was something very special because it was a film that was very different from Pixar. It's one of those Pixar films that actually felt more unique for Pixar standards. So yeah, I absolutely love Coco. And sorry, Lego Batman fans, but Coco is the true best anime film of that year that deserved its best anime feature. So one can wonder how can Incredibles 2 live up to the masterpiece that Coco was. Incredibles 2 was certainly one of my most anticipated movies of 2018. I forgot where I put it. I believe this was my second most anticipated movie of 2018. Infinity War was my most anticipated movie of 2018. And it is, Infinity War is still to this day my favorite movie of 2018. Like what I said in my Infinity War review last year. As much hype as this movie got, I was overjoyed to see that this movie got positive reviews, got great reviews. And said it was worth the 14-year wait. This movie was like a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, it started on as 96. It retained the 90 spot. As of now, it's at 93%. So, well, great job to this movie for getting a high rating. However, the YouTube critics did not feel the same way because as great as the Rotten Tomatoes certified critics are, the YouTube critics apparently don't think the same way. They see this movie as overhyped and underwhelming. Yeah, especially with people like Sheffield Productions and all that stuff. I went on when I scrolled to YouTube, I saw reviews of this film like calling it it's mediocre, it's average, and all that stuff. And heck, even my in-person classmates, they hate this movie. Yeah, my in-person classmates, my grade 8 classes in high school, like when I talked about it with them as I returned to school in August, we actually reflected upon the summer 2018 movies, and they think that this is the worst one. Like they call this, well, technically it's either this or Ant-Man and the Wasp, which Ant-Man and the Wasp also doesn't deserve the hate. But they think they even go as far as calling this one of the worst Pixar films, which is a shame. Yeah. And yeah, yeah, oh boy. And even a lot of Letterboxd users hate this film. Film 3 hate this film. So yeah, I guess sometimes social media users don't react the same way as critics do. But as time went on, this movie got more hate and more hate, because now even the people who initially liked Incredibles 2 look back at this film and realize and said, boy, this film did not age well. Yeah, they say that this film doesn't age well. Well, yeah, now, as for my thoughts back in 2018, I remember loving the hell out of this movie. Heck, I even went as far as calling this my favorite Pixar film ever. And I had a very special theatrical experience, one of the best theatrical experiences I had by 2018. Now, I was actually planning, me and my family were planning to watch a movie like a day, like, on like the Wednesday after Father's Day, because I celebrated Father's Day with my cousins, and then we all thinking, oh, let's just watch it like within the next couple of days, like maybe on like the Wednesday of that Wednesday after 2018 Father's Day. But then suddenly my cousins, my uncle, aunt, and cousins were kind enough to invite my family over to see Incredibles 2. And then we saw it in such a crowded theater with so many Incredibles fans. Some even bringing in Incredibles merch in the showing, and it was just a great experience there. It was a great experience there. And yeah, I saw the film and I loved it. At one point I said that okay, maybe it's not great, it is flawed, but I don't know what I was smoking back then, like at that one time, because now, like, eventually my thoughts on Incredibles 2, I retained my thoughts on Incredibles 2. I went back to my thoughts in 2018 and realized it was a masterpiece. 2 years ago. That was 2 years ago in 2022 when I realized that Incredibles 2 was actually a masterpiece. And now, after rewatching it, I gotta say, this movie still holds up as a masterpiece. Yeah, and to quote Winston Endeavor against the haters of this movie, I gotta say, I disagree strongly. Yeah, this is that's always some of my thoughts on the film. Yeah, I will never understand the divisiveness of this film. The people who hate this film seriously act like it's the end of the world just because they waited 14 years for a sequel that didn't live up to the hype. And I guarantee you, like, going as far as actually hating this film and calling it straight up a bad movie just because it doesn't live up to the hype 14 years later, that is really unfair. That is so unfair. And this is basically the Spider-Man Far From Home of Pixar films, where everybody says it's not as good as the first film, and then film Twitter would initially say this film is actually decent on first watch. It's actually good on first watch, but then later on would say film Twitter would eventually hate the film. Like, I remember people said Spider-Man Far From Home was great on first viewing, but then later on they eventually realized that, oh, this film actually didn't age well. Literally just 1 year after its release, in 2020, people started hating on Spider-Man Far From Home, and some even going as far as calling it the worst Spider-Man movie. And a similar case happened with The Dark Knight Rises, sequel to what cinephiles consider as the greatest superhero movie of all time, The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight, yeah, people say that is, at the time, The Dark Knight Rises was actually the most anticipated movie of all time. And at first, they say, oh, it may not be as good as The Dark Knight, but actually it's still a great film. And then, as time went on, they actually slowly have their thoughts decline up to the point where they actually hate on The Dark Knight Rises and even go as far as calling this the worst Nolan movie ever. Why am I bringing Far From Home and The Dark Knight Rises up? Well, because Incredibles 2 is basically has the exact same treatment as both movies combined. And both movies combined, this movie people massively strongly hate this movie just because it didn't live up to the expectations. That's honestly really unfair to just hate a movie for that reason. But I, for one, think that Incredibles 2 is one of the absolute greatest Pixar movies of all time. And as a sequel to The Incredibles, as a Pixar sequel, yeah, I mean, remember when I said when I compared the Inside Out 2 to Across the Spider-Verse? Well, technically, I think on reflection, I stand by what I said in my Inside Out 2 Letterboxd review. Inside Out 2 is the Frozen 2 of Pixar. Well, I think that Incredibles, as a sequel to the first film, Incredibles 2 is the one that I would say is the Across the Spider-Verse of Pixar. Yeah, with the Incredibles being Into the Spider-Verse and the Incredibles 1 being Into the Spider-Verse and this one being Across the Spider-Verse. So, that's what I said. So, if Inside Out 2 is the Frozen 2 of Pixar, Incredibles 2 is the Across the Spider-Verse. Yeah, this is the Across the Spider-Verse of the 2010s decade. I think we can all agree that Across the Spider-Verse is the superior movie. And I'd say Into the Spider-Verse is superior to... Into the Spider-Verse is better than the first film. And I think technically both Spider-Verse movies are better than this one. Even Into the Spider-Verse is better, as Into the Spider-Verse still remains my favorite animated film of 2018. But this is a close second. This would be my second favorite animated film of 2018. Second only behind Into the Spider-Verse. And my third favorite movie of 2018 in general, behind the Avengers Infinity War and Into the Spider-Verse. So now let's get into everything I love about this film. And there will all be like positives, because I have no flaws with this movie whatsoever. Okay, yes, as much as I prefer this to the first film, I honestly think that there are some things that the first film did better at. For once, I think the city final battle with the Incredibles versus the Omnidroid, plus that scene with Syndrome taking Jack Jack, is a better final battle than the boat scene in this film. I like the boat scene, the final battle, but I honestly think that in comparison to other fight scenes, the boat scene is the weakest of them all. Again, it doesn't mean it's a bad scene, but there's just a lot more electrifying. Like these other action scenes that are so big in scale, but then this one is it's good, but not pales in comparison to other fight scenes in this film. Great final battle though, I gotta say. And I think we can all agree that Syndrome is a far better villain than the Screenslaver. But just because Syndrome is the better villain doesn't mean Screenslaver is good too. Doesn't mean Screenslaver is a bad villain. Screenslaver is actually still a great villain. Though I would say more of a decent villain. A good villain, but not like the best villain ever. Not even in my top 10 favorite Pixar villains. I think I can name 10 Pixar villains that are better than Evelyn Deavor. Syndrome is just elite level, and he is my favorite Pixar villain and Pixar villain. So and I think Screenslaver gets way too much hate. First off, I for one did not even predict that Evelyn Deavor is behind the Screenslaver mask. In fact, Winston Deavor would have been a far more predictable Screenslaver than Evelyn. I mean, it felt more possible. Like people, like you can clearly see that Winston is the Screenslaver. But so I thought the fact that his sister was actually the Screenslaver this whole time, and Winston turned out to be a good guy, was actually the right direction to take it. And Evelyn Deavor's motivation actually made sense, because she just kept she literally kept the secret, the fact that she actually hates superheroes. She kept it a secret from Winston Deavor. It was only a secret because Winston Deavor loves superheroes like his father. So Evelyn Deavor actually secretly hated them so much that she actually used Elastigirl to make superheroes illegal again. To make superheroes illegal, and make sure that they don't fight, and that is brilliant. And when it comes to the concept and the coolness of the villain, I will admit, Screenslaver is cooler than Syndrome. The fact that Screenslaver could actually use a power to hypnotize people, manipulating them into being under control, that is a great concept right there. Yeah. Yeah, that is such a great concept, like right there, and also and the backstory with how the Dever parents were killed because of superheroes going into hiding when superheroes deemed illegal, but then the Dever father, Winston and Evelyn's father, is actually the one person in the one like person to actually believe in superheroes, the one person in the public, and yet he was killed by robbers because they knew that he was trying to call superheroes. Man, that is such a dark flashback, and the use of like the gun, it felt like I was watching a live action movie. In fact, this movie felt like I was watching a live action Marvel movie, especially with the way they use the guns, and this film is a lot bigger than the first film, and you can clearly feel the ambition being bigger. This is much more ambitious than the first film. Now, I'm not saying all sequels that are bigger. I'm not saying that all sequels that are bigger than the first are better, but this is a perfect example of bigger and better than the first film, similar to Across the Spider-Verse. This movie just works so well in both the narrative and action, and also the animation as well, elevating it from the original. And while I did say the final battle isn't as good as the first film's final battle, the other action scenes in this film are among the best action scenes in this franchise yet. You know, you got the opening fight scene, the hyped up fight scene, which is the Underminer fight in the beginning, and then you got the train chase, which was epic, and then you got Elastigirl versus Screenslaver with the hypnotizing and all that stuff, and all that stuff. But yeah, the Elastigirl versus Screenslaver final that action scene, the one in the cage, was for the longest time my favorite scene in the film. But on rewatch, if there's one opinion that I've changed about Incredibles 2, that is no longer my favorite scene in the film. My favorite scene in the film would have to be the helicopter rescue fight. Wow, what an epic, mind-blowing scene the helicopter rescue is. It is so intense. It's just so epic. It really has your heart pounding. When Elastigirl had to save the ambassador, it would constantly crash into helicopters and all that stuff. Other helicopters would crash into it. That action scene fucking took my breath away. And yeah, it really just left my jaw dropping. And seriously, y'all need to talk more about that helicopter fight scene. And if you think that helicopter rescue scene isn't good enough, then you're lying. Then you're fucking lying. It felt like a freaking action movie. It felt like I was watching an action scene from a straight action thriller movie. It felt like an animated. Sorry about the honking car, but yeah, sorry about these crazy people. But yeah, it felt like a thriller, and especially with the way that they used a gun, and then Elastigirl like grabbed it to shoot the to shoot the doors. Yeah, that was just wow right there. And this certainly has one of the greatest animations from Pixar. Every single character looks so realistic, and I mean almost like live action characters. I'm sick of people claiming that realistic looking animation is uncreative. I'm sorry, that is bullshit. Yeah, sure, there are far more creative animations from Pixar, like Elemental, Inside Out 2, Coco, Soul. You know, they're more creative. Also Inside Out 1 as well. But realistic, like, do you guys actually know how long it takes for realistic looking animations to complete? Like, do you not know how hard it is to design, a realistic looking character design, I am going to make a video, a defense video on realistic animation style, because I'm sick of people just saying, "Oh, stop making realistic, smooth animation styles. That is so uncreative." Oh, shut up, there, y'all. You don't understand. Y'all just don't get it. And yeah, like what I said, it felt like I was watching a live action movie, just like the first. And yeah, there are elements in the film that wouldn't expect this film to do. Like the gun, I already said about the use of gun shooting and all that stuff. That helicopter action scene, oh man, yeah, perfect. And speaking of characters, the way the film was able to retain the strong character arcs they had in the first, while some of the characters would be upgraded. One perfect example of an upgraded character is Violet, my favorite Incredibles character. Yeah, this film actually made Violet overall my favorite Incredibles character. While Violet didn't have a lot of time to shine in the first film, she was still very relatable. Considering, like me, I have crushes, and I have crushes, and I tend to follow them a lot. Although I won't say if I actually have a girlfriend or not, I'm not gonna tell you. But even if I have a girlfriend, there are other girls I still have a crush on, but I wouldn't really like take them away from that girlfriend I had. If I have one, but again, I will not. For personal reasons, I'm not gonna talk about my girlfriend on this account. Violet is just super relatable because I tend to act awkward towards my crushes. I tend to like follow them around and try so hard to talk to them to get them to talk to me, but then things would go in an awkward direction. Yeah, and Violet is one of my Pixar crushes. Yeah, especially in this film, like in the beginning of the film where Violet was talking to Tony. Man, she looks so cute when she's like. I forgot what line she said, yeah, she looks so cute, so adorable talking to Tony. And even after I saw this film in theaters, I had a crush on Violet. Yeah, I even wrote my own fanfic of Incredibles 3 with Violet as the main character. Where like basically, Bob and Helen. Basically, if I remember correctly, my concept for Incredibles 3 back then. Now I might make a new idea for Incredibles 3. Might be in a new video, but the concept I had back in 2018 was that Bob and Helen are left alone, and Bob and Helen are away from the kids because of something, and the kids must rescue them. The kids are on their own, and stuff like that. Yeah, and Violet is the leading character, and and speaking of which, the scene when Violet and Dash were on the car talking, and Violet had this heartwarming. Violet and Dash had a very heartwarming talk. That is actually one of my favorite scenes in the film. Like, I consider this one of my favorite scenes in the film. Elastigirl is also another standout, considering that she's the lead of the film, and boy did she kick ass. In fact, this film had girl power. I heard some people say that this movie is woke because it literally just gender swaps. Like, it makes Elastigirl the main character just for the sake of feminist propaganda. Well, I gotta say, fuck off, people. Yeah, that's right. Fuck off, people. Stop hating on girl powers and call it woke. Me and Harry Thomas already made our rants on girl power, so enough is enough with calling female girl power woke. And Elastigirl certainly isn't woke because she's actually a good written character. A good written character. I honestly prefer Bob as a stay-home parent than Helen. Yeah, and yeah, fathers can easily relate to him. Oh, by the way, tomorrow is Father's Day, so what a perfect time for me to rewatch and review this movie right before Father's Day. Yeah. What makes Bob a better stay-at-home parent than Helen is how he's always there for Violet, Dash, and Jack, constantly helping them. While in the first film, Helen doesn't seem to spend a lot of time with her kids. Like, she doesn't help them a lot. She's more focused on trying to find out where Bob went, what Bob's new job is, and constantly making phone calls. So there's that. And speaking of Jack, like, I think a lot of people say that Jack is one of, if not the standout of the film, and I can totally see why. Jack is probably the coolest Incredibles character, considering that he has 17 powers. Yeah, wow, that's insane. how does an Incredibles character get this much powers as a baby? I wonder how Violet and Dash got their powers for the first time. Maybe in Incredibles 3. Actually, my idea of Incredibles 3 is that the opening prologue of the film will show Violet and Dash as little kids, and then they must explore their powers. They must get new power. The opening will show how they pretty much got their powers for the very first time. And yeah. And yes, I will make a video about my idea for Incredibles 3. Stay tuned for that. And yeah, I will also probably do one on Instagram. Maybe tonight if I have time. So yeah. I bet Jack Jack would be the most powerful member of the Power family when he grows older. Frozen is also much more utilized here than in the first. Yeah, he doesn't have a moment like, honey, where is my super suit? Which many people consider it to be the best Incredibles character. Memes aside and iconic lines aside, I do think the helicopter rescue scene in this movie is the best scene in the Incredibles franchise. Michael Giacchino's score for this film is much more powerful than the first because there was a lot more sauce to it than just the Incredibles theme. Like, you got the iconic dun 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 dun. Yeah, but then there's also some awesome fight. Like for example, the score behind the Elastigirl versus Queen Saber fight with the dun 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 dun. Heck, that score was even used. Oh, actually. That's actually the score in Underminer's theme score as utilized in the very beginning of the film. But then the Elastigirl versus Queen Slaver score is like dun 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 dun. Yeah, what an epic score! Like there's like more to it, and I think and I don't care what Schaefer says saying that the score in this movie sucks. Although he did take that back eventually. He said in one video, he took back saying that the score in this movie sucks. Also, the writing is equally as sharp as in the first film. There are scenes in the film that are so meaningful, and the film is actually more meaningful than you think if you actually think about it. One example of this is in the dinner table scene. Yeah, where Bob and Helen argued over superheroes being ignored, and I love how they both had two different sides. You got Bob, who believed that superheroes deserve to be outlawed, and that superheroes deserve to be legal again. And Bob, disagrees with the decision to make superheroes illegal and wants to do that, so that he wants basically Bob and Helen are not only arguing about illegal superheroes being illegal and whether they agree or disagree, but rather they argue over how they can be good parents to their kids. My parents can certainly relate to that, as they certainly argue. They have their differences on how they make me and my brother, on how the kind of parents they are to me and my brother, because they are kind of different, but sometimes they act like the same parent, but they have different methods of parenting. Bob says that that superheroes deserve to be legal because he wants to teach the kids on how to harness their powers. But Helen thinks that it was the right decision to outlaw superheroes because she wants she wants her kids to learn how to respect the law and obey them. So she wants them to not use their powers, and I like that. You gain a lot from the scene. Yeah, I kind of understand why people say that this is just this plot is just a rehash of the first film. That's actually just a premise, though. But let me ask you, why do you understand? But let me ask you, are you just judging this film based on the premise? I feel like you are. Did you actually look at the execution of it all? It depends on the execution. I mean, heck, I acknowledge that Inside Out 2 was just a rehash of the first film. It was a rehash, but in execution, it's done better because it's more mature. And it's more mature and deeper. In Incredibles 2, it's done in a way that feels thicker. Plus, the stay-at-home parent aspect plot line works better in this film than the first film, because in the first film, it focuses more on Bob's journey with his secret mission, and Helen's stay-at-home mother subplot doesn't get enough screen time. So yeah, and also this is more of a character-driven story than this is more of a character-driven film than a plot-driven film. Believe it or not, maybe that's why there's like lots of plot here. I also really like the new supers. They are awesome as well, and I think that they'll maybe more utilized in the third film. Heck, I'd even be down for a spin-off of the supers. I actually pitched my own idea of the supers getting their own spin-off. That would be a far better Pixar spin-off than Lightyear. And by the way, I rewatched Lightyear, and I'll talk about my updated thoughts on Lightyear in my top 10 favorite Pixar movies when I talk about the Toy Story films on my top 10 favorite Pixar movies video. But yeah, the supers would make I spin-off that the supers would make the greatest spin-off ever made, period. Void is my favorite. She's just so likable, especially with her being an Elastigirl fanboy. I think we can all agree she's a much better, fanboy of Syndrome. She's like the good version of Syndrome, believe it or not. Oh yeah, and the pacing also flies by. There was no scene that dragged at all. This is how do I say this? This is a long film. It's 1 hour 58 minutes, making this the longest Pixar film. Take that, Cars. Thank God that boring Cars is no longer the longest Pixar film ever. Yeah, thank God for this film being the longest one, and it totally earns the long run time, because an Incredibles movie deserves to be the longest Pixar movie ever made. Period. And also this film is actually a lot more serious and darker than the first film. Yeah, sure, there's still humor, like in the restaurant scene when Violet was like was squinting out water with her nose. Yeah, that got me laughing. But it's more geared towards seriousness, and I like that. And it's just as much of an adult film as the first film was, while kids can still be entertained by it. So overall, I still love Incredibles 2, and I think this might be tied with Brave as the most underrated Pixar film. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is the highest grossing Pixar film as well. Well deserved. I think I already said it best. It's my third favorite Pixar film behind Elemental and Inside Out 2. My third favorite movie of 2018, and my second favorite anime film of 2018. So Incredibles 3 and Inside Out 3 are the only Pixar sequels that I think would be good that I'd buy. Toy Story 5 can go fuck itself for all I care. And Pixar, don't you dare make a Cars 4. We don't need a Cars 4. And I don't know why people are even asking for a Cars 4. We don't need it. You saw how mediocre Pixar made Toy Story 4. And by the way, who agrees with me that Incredibles 2 is far and away better than the Toy Story 4? So with that said, I'm going to give Incredibles 2, of course, 5 stars out of 5. Masterpiece movie. So also for my review of Incredibles 2, what are your thoughts on the film? Do you agree with me that this is better than the first film? Or are you with the majority that this is inferior to the first film? Comment down below, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for my top 10 favorite Pixar movies of all time. So yeah, bye guys.